Well, here we are in my first attempt at a sealed video. Scars of Mirrodin block, and we're going to start by sorting by rarity. So it seems like we've opened White Sun Zenith and the White Chancellor, Spellskite, which fits well into almost any deck, and Putrefax, which of course only works in the poison build. So at this point, it tends to be a good idea to pull out things that you think would be playable, regardless of color. So we have Fume Spitter, Violent Wound, Flunsermite, and Vault Scourge. Guess Verdict, Spread the Sickness, and Enslave. Enslave is a powerhouse card, especially if you're playing Infect and your opponent is as well, because the enchanted creature deals the damage, an Infect creature would deal poison. In green, our options seem a little bit lighter. With Fangren Marauder being probably our best pull. Pistis Strike, of course, removal for flyers, valuable, but not quite enough on its own. Slice and Twain, very heavy hitting card and great because it's an instant, but other than that, I really don't think green is the way to go with this. So in blue we have Steel Sabotage and Mirrodin Spy, which nothing else is a flyer. Steady Progress. Trinket Mage, which works well with Chimeric Mass because it's converting mana cost to 0 when it's in your library. Invisimancer, unblockable. Any invasion form tends to be a good idea. As a result, Spine Thopter also quite acceptable. Lumigrid Drake is a very expensive flying mana war, and it's only a conditional mana war at that, so it's a flyer for 4, but I wouldn't expect much more out of it. Spire Monitor, Flash and Flying, anything with Flash is worth considering, and Volition Reigns, of course, has a lot of power in any format because of the ability to take any permanent. So in white we have double Glint Hawk, and hopefully we have the artifact support for that, which they do allow you to recast your Chimeric Masses for more value. Very unlikely we're going to be playing Infect. The Quarter Paladin is a very solid card, as is Oriok Sunchaser, as long as you're able to get to the Metalcraft. Soul Parry, typically only useful if your opponent's playing Infect. It's a lackluster card at best. Divine Offering, on the other hand, and Scars Block Sealed is always worth playing because of the sheer number of artifacts. A Grizzly Bear that does a 2-point life swing when it comes in. Not awesome, but not terrible. Instant Mirrors that can also help with Metalcraft for a surprise blowout with Sunchaser or any other Metalcraft condition. And Remember the Fallen, it gets back 2 cards, essentially, and often 2 creatures, so it's worth using as well. Frantic Salvage isn't quite as valuable because of its cost, but it's still worth considering, especially in the side if you don't have better options. Razor Hippogriff is huge. It's a solid flyer, but also getting back an artifact and gaining that life. Very, very useful card. And Exclusion Ritual is removal, so it's worth considering even though it's an awkward one at best. Under red we have Assault Strobe, which if you have enough evasion can be a win condition, but the fact that it's a sorcery makes it very awkward. Ferivore has the potential to just win the game if you have a few things to sack, and it also works well with things like the Wellsprings. Really don't have a whole lot of value. Artillerize is amazing. Ferromancer's good, and Ringleader's okay, but our red's pretty weak as well. So at the moment, I'd be saying either blue, well, white definitely, but then either blue or black. Because White Sun Zenith is a win condition, without a doubt, in this format. And both of our extra colors have a mind control style effect. So in our artifacts, we have the blue Spellbomb, which is definitely worth considering if we're playing blue. A little bit of invasion as well as the added draw card can be pretty helpful. Glenhawk Idol, as we're playing white, and it's a 2-2 flyer. Wellspring because it's mana fixing in any color. Blinding Soul Eater because the tap effects are just huge. It might as well be considered a white creature because of its ability, but it is worth noting that it's Phyrexian mana symbol, and so you can't pay the life. Pristine Talisman, also worth considering because it's a slight bit of acceleration, but more so, unless you're playing Infect, an extra life a turn is a pretty big deal. Kilnwalker is a weak wall on defense, but it's still a 3/3/3 attacking, and that is better than a Hill Giant in pretty much any situation. And also, no color requirement, pretty useful. Rusted Slasher, worth considering because we have a Wellspring, but it's not great. I'm a big fan of Darksteel Sentinel because of the flash and indestructibility. Permanent wall unless you're playing Infect, because there is not a whole lot of removal options in the other colors, so he's definitely worth one of the higher slots in our deck. Sylvok Lifestaff is a really solid equipment, especially, again, if you're not playing against Infect, because of the life gain can quickly make it hard for your opponents to catch up. So, obviously, we have way too many cards and we need to cut a Keller at this point, and so we need to decide which is just better. Black with Enslave, Spread the Sickness, Guess Verdict, but fewer evasion abilities, or Volition Reigns, along with Steel Sabotage is all we really got in blue. So let's see what we can make out of black-white, and maybe we'll come back to the blue. And it's also possible that we can side it in if our opponent's playing anything that seems slow enough. So our curve is horrible at this. It actually appears to be inverted. So you have to look at what the most likely cuts would be, because we are still way too high as far as overall card quantity goes. So Glenhawk works well, like I said, with Synth Wellsprings and various other effects, including Chimeric Mass, as well as being a 2/2 for 1, which can't really be underestimated. We have so many low-cost artifacts that it's worth keeping them. Fume Spitter is a form of removal, and as is Virulent Wound, so it should really be considered. Although if you notice your opponent is not playing many 1 toughness creatures, it's fair to side it out, but it can get you a kill on a higher toughness creature if you're willing to use it in combination with a block. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artifacts. It's probably safe to cut the Sun Chaser, considering how many low-end things we have already, but we might come back to that. Rusted Slasher probably doesn't make it. It's the 1 toughness is just too awkward, and if you play against anything with Infect, it's just not worth it. So we're left with the Chancellor, which we will play because it is very large in the air, and its reveal ability can definitely help in the early game, although we shouldn't have a problem there with the number of things we could put down quickly. So I think cutting 3 or 4 more cards is probably safe. I like Spellskite because of its ability to redirect otherwise blowout style effects. Mutagenic Growth has to be played very carefully around it, as does any removal, so it's worth considering being in, even though we have now cut the blue. Master's Call probably doesn't make it, since we now have no Metalcraft effects, it appears, and the surprise blockers really aren't worth it. Although we are low on creatures at 13 with this, our removal should be sufficient to get us through, and the Glenhawk Idol really makes it 14 anyway. So I think Spellskite might be sideboard, as much as I like it, because we're not going to cater immediately to its ability, and we're probably going to be more aggressive than our opponents. playing a 2-drop with 0 power is therefore not quite as useful. I think for the final cut, Kilnwalker might go, or Inquisitor Exarch because it is double white, and the life swing for a Grizzly Bear isn't that important to justify missing a second turn play. Oh, Flensermite's still in there. That should obviously be the cut. That was my mistake, but the lifelink is useful, and the infect is as well, because it would stop things like Rusted Slasher, but it's not even worth considering, especially with our other removal and Fume Spitter being in the deck. So, Leaden Mirror would probably be considered, but we have so little double black, and I don't think we need more acceleration than just a Pristine Talisman. So the suggestion goes 10 and 6. Because it gets Verdict, I'd actually say we go 9 and 7. We have the Mycosynth Wellspring to get us the extra one anyway. So we do have 2 triple white cards at the higher end, but again, by turn 7 that should be pretty manageable. So that's my suggestion for our initial build, and we'll see how round 1 goes.